What's up,
Right.
everybody? Sean here with a live Live to Roll. Here with my co host Tom, and we have Allison and Amanda from Rolling Stone today. So, as you guys know, my name's Sean. I'm a C5, C6 quad from a snowboarding accident 17 years ago now. Tom, you want to give a quick little
Yeah,
intro?
sure. What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us. If you're new, welcome back. If you're coming on back, and thank you to Alice and Amanda, our awesome guests today, for joining us once again. We've had them on the show before. They're just so
Yeah.
awesome. We keep on bringing them back. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm Tom. I'm a C5, C6 quad. I live in Southern California, and yeah, been living the quad life for 24 years. I was
Woohoo.
injured when I was 4 years old in 1997. And yeah, that's me. And I think today we're going to be talking about sex and intimacy. We're going to keep these
Ah.
Valentine's Day topics going and keep things spicy. Um,
I
Ooh.
didn't know it was going to be spicy.
Here, you guys want to give yourselves a quick little intro
Who are
on
you?
yourselves and Rolling
that's
Stone
who
and
you
everything
are.
Yay.
before we
Okay,
get
so
into our.
I am Alice Keenadeel. I am an actor and advocate, and I run Rolling Stone, a disability spin on the medical cannabis community, but also a healing justice movement for people with disabilities, LGBT,
Anybody.
and BLM, and anybody that wants to feel
Anybody.
included. That's me, and I'm
I'm
married
yeah.
to this human right here.
I'm Amanda. And like you just said, I am married to you. I have multiple sclerosis, and I'm also an advocate for all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm an artist as well.
Yay, art.
Yay.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
I forgot. Did I mention CP? I have
I
cerebral.
don't think that you
Oh,
mentioned your
I have.
disability.
I have I was born with cerebral palsy in
You don't
1986,
have one. It's fine.
and you were diagnosed with MS.
In 2010, I
Yeah.
said I had MS. You were the one that.
Jesus
Well,
Christ! Can we do that again?
no, you guys are good. It was quirky and amazing. Alice and Amanda,
Yeah.
just to like shout out before we get started with the show too. They have an awesome blog they run. They like post like on all the time. They got an awesome Instagram. They're always posting really cool like information, like cool stuff about cannabis, cool products, reviews, and just general like wholesome goodness in their daily posts. So definitely go and
Yes.
check out their Instagram and their website and stuff. And yeah, give them lots of love because they're awesome and spreading lots of it. So that's what we like to do
Yay!
here.
I like
Spread
it.
lots of love, right?
They like
Yep.
Yes,
And
us.
they
all their
really
info
We
is in
like
the
the love.
description. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
Uh,
this episode's great because we're just talking about the love.
The lurve.
the nerve. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about. So, yeah, we're gonna
So,
be talking.
Sean, where do we want to get started with this?
I was thinking we could start. We'll start with just some of the misconceptions about sex and disability.
Oh,
Like common misconceptions is that people with a disability are asexual. Like we have no sexual drive. We aren't sexual beings. Um, you know, um, and obviously that's not true.
Yeah.
um, so let's just get into a little bit of that. Like, we'll talk about that we all like. I mean, Tom, you're in a relationship. You guys are obviously married. I'm the only single one on the panel, I guess, for right now.
oh
Aww.
Oh,
no.
I know.
That's
Poor
okay.
me.
We
Sean.
What's
like the
going on
bachelor
here?
experience, the bachelor, the
Sean
bachelor
is the
side of
shit.
things.
Which I find that really hard to believe
Yeah.
because, like, you just have the sweetest. I can't.
You're high maintenance, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I am high. I guess maybe I'm high maintenance. I'm a little shy too when it comes to dating and stuff. Like I
Oh, yeah, I
really
get
am. Just kind of like I'm. Yeah, I don't know.
that's
So,
okay.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Adorable.
So, oh,
Eh,
shy one, I'm going to put you on the spot then.
okay, let's go for it.
Mr. Host of the show. Um, how has that affected you in dating and getting out there, like as the bachelor? Like, does the misconception get in the way of things? Like, I know when I was dating and stuff, it was always kind of like, if not the first thing like we talked about, it was something that like the person would usually want to get out of the way pretty quickly, just to know and understand. I mean, sex is kind of a big part of any relationship. So, can you tell me about your experience with that a little bit?
Yeah, so pretty much like especially When it comes to online dating, that for sure, like, I think I probably get swiped left on a lot just because as soon as they see the wheelchair, because I'm not, I don't hide the fact that I'm in a wheelchair. I'm very open about it. So I think right away people just assume like no, like for whatever reason that is, whether that they think just I'm not going to be sexual, or even if they think I can be, they're thinking I'm not going to be, it's not going to be enough for them or whatever it may be. But then there are, the ones that do click and I do start talking to. Yeah, it does tend to come up pretty early in conversation. Within like the first like week or so of talking, they usually want to know if I can have sex still. Like that's definitely,
Yeah.
and they'll try to be subtle about it usually. They'll try to kind of throw the like like
Hey, not to be a jerk, but
Yeah.
yeah, just like, so how
I
do
want to
things
say,
work? Like they try to be subtle about it, but it's like that they want to know, and I understand that. Like I guess especially like like before you get too involved with somebody, you would want to know something like that. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I do kind of like to develop a connection with somebody. So like it is good to be able to talk for a while before like it becomes just a sexual conversation, and because usually once it turns to that, they have more like once the first question comes out, there's
More.
follow-up questions are coming. Like so yeah, it tends to turn the conversation quite a bit, which is fine sometimes, but yeah, it can be a little bit like it's like stop it kind of like can stop the getting to know you process, and which is kind of weird
Have you
too.
ever?
So
Well, I don't. Am I
what's
allowed
that?
to
I've
ask a
noticed,
question?
no.
I've
Huh?
noticed that the online likeness of our age, like the anonymity of that gives people, I mean, I've noticed like a little bit more boldness to ask questions like that. Which, my general like rule of thumb is to just be honest and open. And like if someone isn't asking maliciously, or like in a rude way, then like I got nothing to hide. Like I'd rather be honest and upfront, be like, yo, like here's how it is now, like you take me as I am, or we're gonna find out real quick.
Ta-da!
This isn't gonna work. Which
Yeah.
is I think okay, but it can still like, I mean, I've been very shy about it for a long time. I mean, still like it's taken me a long time to get over that. But I think it's like a learned skill like anything else in dating. Talking about that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
You were open. You were honest
Yeah.
on your profile. So.
It's very interesting because like the only time I was never bullied as a kid or anything like that. The only time that I felt kind of out of place was with like people that I dated and their families and how they thought about me, and that then had an effect on them dating me and like all this stuff, and a lot of ableism when I
Right.
heavy ableism when I started dating.
Yeah.
And then of course because of that I found the wrong people to date, and that was really bad, and plus I didn't think I was worth something better. And then I met my wife through Plenty of Fish.
Before Plenty of Fish went a
That's
little
cool.
out of hand.
Yeah. So
Don't
I
go
was
there,
on
man.
Plenty of Fish for 2 years, and she was on for 30 minutes.
Right.
So,
Really?
There you go. I think I'm really
but
lucky
she
with the
knew a good
online
thing when
dating
she saw
experience,
it.
Amanda.
So
Everybody was
That's
doing it,
But-
but I decided to do it.
the interesting part about all this was that all the people that I had issues with, they were non-disabled people, and and whereas Amanda has MS, and I said, oh, I'm also very open and honest on my dating sites, and I was very honest, and she goes, well, I have MS, and I was like, well, don't take this the wrong way, but I kind of feel like at ease, like closer to you in a
Yeah,
way.
I understand more.
Like,
I
sucks that you have MS, but
okay, you weren't happy about that.
yeah,
but
but I don't know,
Or
ever since like, and we got married like a year later. So I don't know. Disabled love is
wow.
awesome. I think it's something to consider.
So that's
Interesting.
cool. That's actually another thing I wanted to talk about. So one of the misconceptions that people could assume is that disabled people only date disabled people, which
Yeah.
I think it's a great relationship between, people that are disabled. Like you can find that great connection, but
Yeah.
it's not something that is
Everybody
it's
wants
not the
that.
only option, like. And the
No,
other
no.
misconception I want to clear up is that when people date a person in a wheelchair, like an able-bodied dating a person in a wheelchair, that does not make them like like uh like more of a like that doesn't like I mean, yes, it doesn't make them a special person because they're willing to give you the chance, but it doesn't, like, people think of them as like,
Doesn't
oh,
make
you're
you a
such an
saint for
amazing
dating.
person for dating this
Yeah.
person, like
Yeah.
that's
No.
that's not right either. So just yeah,
It all like really centers around the conception of disability, though. It depends on how you
Yeah.
perceive it. Like, I mean, you're not dating my disability. Like, you're dating me. Like, like
Yeah.
you're gonna learn me as a person. I've dated, I guess now, like both able-bodied people and like someone else with a disability. I'm currently in a relationship with someone who has a disability, who's in a chair with a spinal cord injury like me. And I don't know, my experience has been like the disability is there, but
Yeah.
that's all it is. It's just there.
Okay.
It's something that
Yeah.
it requires a certain amount of attention that I give it because my body has to work a certain way. But outside of that, it's just another normal functioning part of my life. Like I function with my disability. I'm not functioning for my disability or defined by my disability. It's just an aspect of my life that I take into account. And that is true whether you're with a disabled partner or an able bodied partner. Now, with an able bodied partner, I don't know, like it's a learning curve. I
Yeah.
guess like the
They have to be
experience can
willing to.
be different for everybody else. But I mean, in every relationship that I've had with an able-bodied person, they've been, more than open to like learning and, just learning and understanding, which, I think
Especially
is an
the
important
able
thing.
bodied
But
ones,
you have
right?
to do that for any partner. You have to learn about their quirks and how they
Yep.
work and how they function. It's,
Yeah.
just like a
Yeah.
part of the dating experience.
exactly. It's the same for all of us, able-bodied,
You're
Now,
disability.
getting
I
to
do
know
have to
someone.
apologize. I have to send a text message. I'm not sitting here on my phone during the podcast, you guys. I just have to send a
How
text message to
could
a
you?
caregiver to not get interrupted. So I'm sorry if I have to do that for a second, you guys. Just want to let you know.
How dare you?
No worries. Um,
That's
so
We
Alice
need.
and Amanda, you guys, when you first met, how long did you guys talk on the site and stuff before you actually went on a date and met and things?
2
2
weeks,
weeks, I
I
think.
think.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
And
there
how
was
long
no
after that
talk
did you
of
guys know
how do
you
you
were?
do it. Like there was no
Yeah,
talk.
there was no talk about like
How do we do it? Like none of that
Oh
happened.
yeah,
yeah.
None of that.
none of that happened.
Ye-
Luckily.
Well,
I
see,
mean, I'm not that I'm saying that it's bad. It's
It's
bad
fine
to ask
to ask,
questions. Yeah,
but
it just
no,
didn't happen.
but I think two people that both have disability, both have a little bit more of an understanding that, like, you don't have to have that upfront talk. Like, when it
right.
comes to the time when you're going to be intimate with somebody, then yeah, you want to have that conversation, like what they like, what if there's places that, like, that hurt on their body or anything like that, you
Especially with
know
you guys.
things like that.
How
So
do I
like that,
move with you?
that's important. But yeah, the initial, that like a week into, like, so hey, how do things work? Those are just the awkward.
So
So,
Uh,
I do want to say this too. I think it's really important. A lot of people think that like they're ready to have sex or ready to just jump into it, when they're not. Like I don't think I was when I first did. In that, like I really didn't learn to love myself until like a few years ago. I was pretty self conscious about my body, and I still am. Still struggle with that sometimes. And it's just we are shaped different. Everyone's shaped different, right? I feel like I'm shaped a little bit different than the average person because of my disability. The
right.
time that I've been paralyzed, but it wasn't, really like I wasn't really able to really start to enjoy sex or, enjoy that side of things until I start to accept myself for who I am and relax about those things. And I was first able to like finally relax, like with my partner and stuff. And that was really, I think a big milestone in terms of like, my journey, like sexuality, intimacy, discovering, how to love myself. Because it's a lot easier to love with someone else and feel relaxed and accept their love when you're okay with who you are and how you look. Because it's always going to be difficult, and it's always going to be hard to accept love when or have difficulty, like loving yourself. So that's something that I don't think is talked about too much when it comes to, intimacy and things like that. But it's a big like thing that I had to learn from crossing my own journey.
Self-consciousness
Well,
is a big thing.
well, and bravo to you. I think that's awesome. I think for me, I was the opposite. I was a late bloomer, but once I got past that point, I was very sexual and gay and flamboyant. I think I was more sexual.
All at once.
I was more at ease being sexual than I was at ease loving myself. So
It can go both ways.
yeah,
You can use it as
so.
And it's interesting you bring that up because that's kind of how I was too. Like I was putting myself out there, like wanting to experience this stuff and thinking that I was ready to, when I wasn't at that time. It did take you, but that was
I don't think
part
I
of it.
actually was.
No, I don't think any of us. Well,
Yeah,
most.
nobody like is dating in your 20s.
Is that a good idea?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I always like, say, like,
It's not a good
especially in
idea.
sex, like, is it going to be the greatest thing in the world? Because there is, that stuff. Um, but
Yeah, no, and see, like, I actually have a little bit different of experience than you guys. I feel like, because you guys all really grew up with your disabilities, so like you
I
grew up.
No,
Oh no, Amanda, you didn't.
No, I got diagnosed in 2010, and then it slowly just gets
So
worse.
yours is a later
over time.
onset, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
No.
later onset club.
Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, that's a yeah. Because I know for me, like initially, I was like right after my injury, I was 21 and I got hurt, and I was just kind of like I actually
was
had a
22.
girlfriend at the time. I was dating somebody, so I, I wanted to try having sex, like, because honestly, at the time, I was able, like, in the hospital, I was getting erections, like, constantly. So I was like, well, I know that works. Great. Like,
Yeah.
doctors were like, yeah, thumbs up, buddy. This stuff works. Cool. Like,
Woohoo!
but to me, I was like, like, I really, like, I want to, like, know, though.
Right.
And I'm going to be honest, and I haven't really told too many people this, but the first time I did try, like, which was still in rehab in the hospital, I convinced her one of the later nights when I was still in the hospital, like, I was like, I really want to try this before I go home.
Yeah.
I was wondering if people did that. Now I know
It
someone.
was it was not the experience I was looking for. I actually like cried. I was like, this like I can't believe I couldn't feel anything. Like it just to me it was just like it. I don't know. It was really hard that first time, and then it took a while to mentally get over that and to cope, and then like to like just accept things, I guess, and just like and then realize that there was still pleasure in other things and different like there was still pleasure to be had and things like to be enjoyed. So yeah, so that was a little bit of my experience of like, so I was very like the first year or two, I was just like, I don't like, especially after we had me and my girlfriend broke up and I was single, I didn't know I was very unsure of trying to date at first. Like,
Yeah, I bet.
so.
yeah, I did want to touch on the chat for a second. Miguel, what questions are allowed? All questions are allowed. Anything and everything related to sex and intimacy, as long as it's, not crazy or
Too
like
inappropriate.
inappropriate. But yeah, we're here to talk about sex and the nitty gritty. So feel free to get into that.
Ashley actually asked us.
I was just thinking about that
uh,
question.
Yeah, how we feel about open relationships. So I don't know
If that's your thing, go for it.
Yeah, if that's your thing, go for
Absolutely.
it. Like,
We have friends who have very successful open relationships. So
yeah, polyamory is
it's
also
a thing.
a thing in the LGBT community, and just as long as all parties are aware and they're okay with it.
I am.
Be on the same page.
Yeah.
I have a great friend who's polyamorous. I am I would call myself a serial monogamous person because I just like it's not my thing. But I love everyone and all kinds of love out there. So I don't think there's any wrong way to love that works.
Yeah, no, not
Just
at all.
make sure that's all I can say. Make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, I would say just make sure communication is there and everybody is aware. But yeah, for me, I'm like I do form very like emotional connections somewhat, so it's hard for me uh, to be like open with that.
Yeah.
But so yeah.
Some people can do it. They're like, you, I love you.
The
Cool.
the other thing that I just want to touch on, since you brought up that golden word, communication is paramount for, I think, intimacy with in regards to your disability. Able-bodied person, with your, anybody. I think like even yourself, that conversation should be had with your doctor. When I was my experience with that, I grew up with it. Just I have amazing, wonderful family and parents, but my parents did not talk to me about sex or anything. And I was left to my own devices. And if I do, like, if my mom ever does watch this, which I told her not to, she did talk to me about, which is something to think about for guys, saving your sperm. Like, especially longer term, you're paralyzed, like sitting, like chronically and stuff can cause, if they notice, like longer term STI, people have issues with fertility. Because I was injured so young, my mom had thought about that. Like, what if he wants to have kids?
It's too hot.
She did have that conversation with me when I was like 16 years old. But that came after I had an amazing conversation with my physiatrist at the time. So was my spinal cord injury doctor, Dr. Amy Houtro, and
That is
she
amazing.
she brought it up to me like at one of my doctor's appointments, and she kicked my mom out of the room. When she asked me, she was like, "You want your mom to stay in, or do you want me to kick her out?" And I was like, "Kick her out." And she talked to me about it,
Now.
and it was amazing because it opened my eyes to that. And I was a teenager. I definitely thought about sex, and I was definitely thinking about the opposite sex, and like all those hormones flying in me, flying around in my body. But I didn't have any really outlet or way to explore it, or like a direction to go.
But how?
But
How?
exactly. And credit to Dr. Amy for pointing me in those directions and giving me some resources to Google and to like look up my own. And I really advise that to anybody out there who is beginning the journey of rediscovering their sexuality. It's not an embarrassing or like shouldn't be an embarrassing thing to talk about to your doctor. They're not going to talk about it to anybody else, and they want to help you. There's tons and tons of things, from medications to like tools that are not like the typical things you see in the sex store, things like that that are very like available to people, men and women. So something to think about in regards to that stuff.
And that's I guess now it seems like a good time to touch on one of the people, one of Alice and Amanda's friends, Eva, has she's actually a sex expert, therapist. She has Instagram and a bunch of website and a bunch of different stuff that she does. She reviews different sex, toys and devices that are good for, limited hand function and different things.
She has
and all her
CP, and she's nonverbal as well. So she's also in the queer community and uses an aid to talk. So I mean, it's not just about sex toys and how to talk to your lover about sex, but it's also how to find sex friendly aids too, because that's a big thing. I think a lot of people are embarrassed, if they need help to perform sex, for example.
There are people that are disabled that use an aid to help them. So
right.
That's a thing.
So all that stuff is really good to like know and get into, and there are resources out there. So just you just have to look and try to reach out and stuff. And usually, especially in the disability community, most of us are pretty open and friendly to help out others in our community. So,
and I know that everyone on this podcast in particular is happy to discuss any of this stuff, like more personally, privately, if that's easier for you. It's not easy for everyone to just jump in the chat and talk about this stuff. So if you want to message any of us or just ask about like resources, message me. Like I have a file sitting on my computer with like a dozen websites and like an encyclopedia of information in regards to like sex stuff that I'm happy to send any, quad guy out there or any quad lady too. Fortunately, a lot of the stuff is male centered. It's just a lot of the research that's been done. It's a lot of the information out there, and that sucks. I've been
Of course it
doing my
is.
best to I know it's very like male centered world out
That's all
there.
right.
But working on changing that, and there are studies, there is information out there for women who spinal cord injuries and other disabilities too. I happy to point anyone in the directions to information that I found.
Yeah,
But
same
we do
here.
have a
There's no
comment.
judgment. No judgment.
Yeah, we do have a comment. Turbo Dave mentioned it was a couple of years after his injury that he even thought about that stuff, and it was a long journey. And that like resonated with me a little bit because it is a long journey. Injury and disability is a very long journey. But rediscovering that, I mean, it was a long journey for me. Between the first time I discovered my sexuality and first time I had an orgasm, I think it was like 10 years. Like trying things out, experimenting with my body, and learning and stuff. And I just want to like shout that out there. Um, it takes time, and that can be frustrating. It can be difficult, but that doesn't mean it can't be enjoyable. And like fun along the way. And I want to just keep gabbing on and on. But maybe you guys can touch on this too with your experience with it. But sex is so much more. That it is a journey and experience is learning. It's fun to like learn and explore with yourself. That's a big part of it. Learning how your own body works, and then finding someone that you trust to learn and explore with, um, and create that space to learn. I think is a really important thing because it does take time, and your body's not always going to be ready. You're gonna like learn how your body responds differently in different times when you feel different stuff, and it's all part of that learning experience, which is I think really important to take into account. It's all part of the recovery, like physical therapy and stuff. You're not going to just lose weight and get muscles tomorrow.
I
You
didn't
gotta
eat bread today. Why didn't I lose 10 pounds? Excuse me.
exactly. You got to exercise. You got to practice. You got to practice having sex. You got to like exercise and do it too. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Experiment.
Yeah,
Be
you're
your own
never gonna know
guide.
what works for you and what you like and enjoy if you don't try, So
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm talking too much. Somebody else talk.
Stop
Alice,
talking.
how
What were you
how
gonna
is
say?
that? How is your disability affected you guys? Like in that regard, if you don't mind talking about that. Like it's not always happy, joy. I mean, our bodies are not
Um,
always.
it's
No.
I've never really had an issue with it, and I think that's probably just because like I was born disabled, so I always had like doctors kind of poking and prodding me. So like as far as like being naked or stuff like that, like I never had a problem with that.
Yeah.
I had a issue with like parts of my body at times, but that's why like I'm tattooed from head to toe. And now I love my body, so
I
I
will
mean
make you look at
that was part of it. But then also like being like closeted for a lot of years, that was hard. So I didn't really date in high school at all. I was just a theater geek. And then as soon as I moved to Los Angeles, I was like, I'm gay. So that was like a whole thing.
LA made you gay. Just kidding.
And then that's when I actually started to have sexual partners. Is when I came out of the closet, really.
Yeah, I wasn't really interested until, well, okay, that's not true. I dated a guy for a while when I was a young teenager. So that was before I was diagnosed. And then after I was diagnosed was when I was more interested. Like, I didn't really care then. But you want to explore and see what's different.
Yeah.
But because we're gay, there's a lot of, most people would call it foreplay, but that's sex for us.
Yeah.
But my hands are pretty numb and they have a weird I forget what they call it, but there's a weird sensation on both my hands, and so they hurt if I try to touch really anything. It feels like anything is covered in sandpaper,
Oh,
and that's
wow.
not fun.
That's
Yeah.
that's the same for my pinky. It's super
Yeah.
hypersensitive, like because
And it's just
I
like
don't have really
excusing them.
sensation there, but the nerves
So a
like
lot
just
of what you
get
consider
yeah.
that gets in the way of foreplay.
Yeah.
Neuropathy.
And that's where, like, if you go to Eva's page, you can look up toys that would work for that problem.
Like vibrators are your friend.
Yeah.
You know.
Etc. So.
Yeah, like we're always talking about cannabis too. I found for neuropathy in particular, the hypersensitivity, one of the best things is like topical cannabis. Like shout out like one company that I know is great because they designed their stuff for it. It's called Foria. It's pretty expensive. The THC stuff is pricey. That's the only like hard part about it. But they have some
Hear that.
really incredible products. Like lubricants, oils, even like suppositories for like women to like help like ease the body. It just like gives the nerves some. It dulls them.
Dispensaries down here
It
are
gets
more about let's get high, not let's help you feel better.
But the
So hard to
topical
find
stuff, the topical stuff I found can really help a lot with neuropathy. I found personally. So that's something to explore as well. But that can be a tough thing that gets in the way for a lot of people is like hypersensitivity, too much sensation.
Too much.
Like I have some really sensitive spots, like right where I start to lose feeling, right at that like line where I start to lose sensation, and it can like be hypersensitive. It's like, whoa, like you gotta stop touching there because it's too much, but things like that. But it's just like part of learning, learn yourself, and like learn about your partner, like where to touch, where not to touch. Like
don't forget that spot. Please don't touch that.
Yeah,
exactly. Or it can feel good just at the right time. Like let the THC, like oil, like kick in a little bit, and then it's fine.
That's another thing too. Massage is a big thing for us.
I think I should definitely mention that, like for me, because like I deal with constant movement and spasticity, right? But like having an orgasm or having sex or whatever,
she'll relax.
I'll relax.
Completely.
So for me, like having sex, the act of having sex, I feel less disabled.
It's also more therapeutic for you.
Yeah, and like I don't know, it's good shit. I don't know what to tell you.
Sex in any form, including like masturbation, is healthy.
Yeah,
can be very healthy. The endorphins that it releases in your body is good. It's a very natural thing to like want to find that release. It's very difficult though for a lot of disabled people to do that. Unfortunately, by virtue of their living situations or their caregiver situation, just someone always around.
Yeah, that's something that needs to be addressed because privacy. That's
none of your caregiver's business.
It happens though. Like privacy can become a commodity.
That's where the conversation needs to start to change a little bit. It's like it's okay to tell your caregiver like, hey, I need a few hours of private.
I need you to not be
That's not strange, like it may be. I mean, I've heard of people like wanting to ask their caregivers to, like set them up, with like this stuff, their toys and what they need. Now, if the caregiver's okay with that, and that's a conversation you have with them, and it's appropriate, in that context, then absolutely, that's fine to do. But it's, if they're not comfortable with that, I don't think it's an unreasonable expectation, for you to like respect that and stuff. But it's just a conversation that needs to be had. Again, it's like communication with anything.
I was going to say again, communication.
Communicate with your space.
I think that's the harder part.
A lot more, I feel. This is not fair. We are tired. We gotta plug in. It's still okay.
I was gonna say too, like if you're a higher level quad or something and you can't do it yourself, then it might be a conversation you have to have with somebody.
That's why you find a sex positive caregiver.
So you just that's something that you would have to like look into because that is hard. Being not able to.
And as far as like, you know, that route, for the higher level individuals out there that, you know, have difficulty experiencing, you know, sex and intimacy or dating and things like that, there are resources, you know, sex therapy. There are, you know, ways of getting out there, you know, getting intimate encounters, being safe. You know, it's like not, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing, you know, to, you know, go out there and like hire an escort if it's, you know,
Yeah.
thing
If
that
you
you're
have
able
to
to
learn
communicate. Everyone's tested and it's safe, and it's like, you know, it can still be like a very like erotic, intimate, healthy thing.
and they know
You know
what they're
that
doing. They know how to
You know what?
exactly.
listen to
It's
you.
just
In
about it.
Amsterdam, they give you like a stipend. I don't know if they
People with
still do
disabilities,
this.
they give them a stipend for the rent
Really?
district.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And I don't know. I think it also goes into like a lot of people with disabilities. Like for the longest time before I met my wife, anyway, like I went through this journey where I think I honestly thought that it was too much. I for someone to just be in a relationship with me, be intimate, whatever. And so, like, yeah, I think that a lot of people go around thinking, well, I'm not worthy of the love I want. And it's like, that's not
that's
true at
not true.
all.
Yeah, no, not true at all. I did want to mention a comment Peter just posted, and he said his caregiver only comes 3 hours a day. The rest of the day and on Sunday he's flying solo, and
Yeah.
that's it. Structure
He's
your
got
care.
time.
When I first moved out, my the reason I moved out was to explore like sex and intimacy and dating and stuff on my own. And that sounds wild and crazy, but I swear to God that that was the reason. Like I also
Sounds fine to us. We're like,
but
yeah,
like
we get it.
that was
Yeah.
my motivation. Was like I lived at home with, you know, like four other people, and I had no privacy or no way to explore that, no way to date, no way to bring someone back home, no way to, you know, even like explore myself really, you know, except, you know, on a
Yeah.
rare weekend day when everyone was out of the house for a few hours. But say when I, you know, would move out, when I moved out, I'd care all the time. I'd care in the morning, I'd care at night, every day.
You did
And
not have time.
I realized I didn't need it. You know, like I was also discovering my independence at the time. So I was making sure that I was safe and taken care of. But it was too much, and it was worth it for me to pull back my care and to give myself my time. And it, you know, that's something that if it's within your power to do so, it's a journey,
Yeah.
discovering your independence and working on it. And again, it's work and learning. It's, you know, a lot of work. But that can be a thing too, is, you know, structuring your care and, you know, creating your environment so that you do have time on your own to, you know, explore that kind of stuff, or to bring someone back and, you know, share just your space.
So that was honestly one of my biggest things for independence. Like when I was, a 21, 22-year-old guy out of the hospital, like I wanted to go out with my friends, I wanted to be able to go to bars and stuff, be able to bring somebody back possibly, like have
Yeah.
just and then also transfer even stuff like anything like that. Like so that was literally one of my big motivating factors as a young man, like I want to be
Yeah.
able to explore my sexuality and things, and it just, yeah, that was a huge factor for me. That was like a motivating factor for like, all right, if I can transfer myself, then I could be able to like, like then I can get into
Yeah.
bed myself, and I don't have to rely on somebody to be there for me when I get home. Like it's like it was just all these things. And then
Right.
another sort of funny story. So before I actually was fully independent and transferring myself and stuff, and like right when I kind of learned about, like a couple years after my injury, a friend of mine, my buddy Mike DeYoung, I'll shout out, he's the one that taught me my transfer too. He gave me a VHS copy of this video on a ferti-care medical vibrator. And I was like, what are you handing me? I thought he was handing me a porn or something like that. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, he's like, no, dude, it's like, it's like this medical vibrator, it's like for people with SCI, like it's for guys. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, it's made for us. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I checked it out, and I ended up having to get a prescription from my doctor, and it cost $700 to order. And I think they're like $800 or $900 now on their website. They're super expensive. So you can just buy a like magic wand. I have a Hitachi magic wand now, which works way better, I think, and is just easier. But anyways, I had gone through all this stuff. I got this. I had it all, but I couldn't so I had to like leave it in my bed where like I could get it when I wanted to use it because I couldn't transfer. I couldn't like I had to have it set up already, and I had a friend come by. A buddy of mine came by
What's
to
that,
hang out,
Sean?
and he's sitting on my bed, and he's like puts his hand, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And he picks it up, and it's like he's like,
Like, don't touch that,
penal.
bro, don't touch that.
It says penal vibrator on it. He's like, "What the fuck is this?" He throws it.
That's amazing.
I'm like, I am sorry, bro. I was like, I
That's
was trying to explain.
That's so funny.
You're like, dude, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, I don't know. Yeah,
Welcome
that's
to my house.
exactly.
The
But
house
he
of
get
the bachelor.
he got it. He understood. He was like, okay, like all right, you know, like he's like, but why is it right here? I was like, because that's the only place I can reach it.
Yeah, there you go. Like, fair enough.
I don't know if
Jeez.
you remember.
Move along, chump.
So yeah, that was my fun story for
Hilarious.
To just comment on the vibrators, for anybody out there looking or curious about information in regards to that stuff. The thing that you're really looking for, what causes like the vibratory stimulation is the amplitude of the vibration versus the frequency. So the frequency is the speed of the vibrator, how fast it vibrates, but the amplitude is the wavelength of the vibration. So like the actual like up and down motion. And higher amplitude is what really works for the vibratory stimulation. So when you are shopping and stuff, there's usually information in that regard if you read about what you're buying and you're looking for a high amplitude vibrator. The one that I really recommend isn't actually the Magic Wand, which is also a good one out there, but it's still in my mind too pricey because it's like 60, 70,
$700.
if you want
No,
like
the
a
bad.
quality wireless one. But there is one out there on Amazon you can get. It's called a Wall, like WHALL vibrator. There's like ones that they even sell at like Rite Aid and stuff, but they're on Amazon for like $20. Super high amplitude vibrator that works just like the Magic Wand for pennies on the dollar, and doesn't look like a sex toy. You can just be like, I'm using it for my muscles and my body. So that could also be something. It's kind of inconspicuous in that, like, if you're able to leave it out or leave that excuse, like, hey, my arms or my legs are sore at the end of the day, it feels good. Like, you know, that could work. Yeah, I mean, it sounds funny, but if that makes it more comfortable to justify it for your caregiver, then freaking go for it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm gonna pull up real quick. I'm gonna try this. Hopefully this works.
and
all right,
Peter
and
is
go.
right. The wrong.
So if anybody wants to check out my website, I have some information on this stuff, and I also have reviewed a few of these tools right here. So yeah, these are a few of the ones that I've like checked out and reviewed, and
They made
have.
a wireless
Whoops,
magic wand, yeah,
Oops.
because they should.
crap! I didn't mean to do that, but that's the website for the ferti-care. These are the $700, $800
We're about
ones.
to get kicked off online.
That thing
I know.
looks like $700. I don't know why.
But yeah, so those are some options if anybody wants to check out the
Thunderstick.
website. Yeah.
Now-
I feel like that a thunder stick.
Yeah.
I just like the name of that one.
We got a thunder stick. There you go.
That's how
Just to keep it around the house and have people go, what is
Sounds
that?
pretty intense.
It does. It does. Don't make sure
I
you
have my shoulders hurt all the time.
all the time.
Okay, there you go. So another thing that I cannot forgo saying is there are sometimes side effects to orgasm after spinal cord injury in particular that cannot be so fun. It can trigger dysreflexia, especially the vibratory stimulation. It can be super intense. In my experience, like orgasm has triggered AD for me. It still does sometimes. It lessened over time though. It happened a lot at the beginning, and then my body kind of got used to the sensation and stuff. And I was able to learn how to not trigger it by just taking more time or trying different stuff or doing different things. and that is part of the learning curve. But it can be dangerous, it can be scary, and it can also not feel good when you get a super bad case of AD right
Yeah.
after feeling good
Yeah.
and like doing your thing. So that being said, if you do get a bad case of AD afterwards, don't let it discourage you, and don't think this is the end all be all. It's going to be that way forever, because it's not. Even if it doesn't start to go away on its own, there are things you can talk to your doctor about: nitroglycerin, nitro paste. There are patches that you can wear that like slowly release a little bit of the nitroglycerin, the stuff that reduces your blood pressure and things like that over time. Super low dose stuff. There's all kinds of things you can talk about with your doctor to help control the dysreflexia, and
Cool.
it's can be something that like can definitely hinder you and get in your way, but can also is solvable. But it's something that you want to pay attention to. Always pay attention to your body. Always
And
listen to those signals.
real quick
But
on the other side of that, so the AD happens initially for like orgasm, like during, and on the flip side, afterwards, you get an extreme blood pressure drop, or like so you get full, like you go from that spike to a way drop. So it can be, hard on your body. Like for me, as soon as it, like with that drop, I can feel like I'm a little more lightheaded than I normally would be. Like if I'm up in my chair, my spasms are completely gone. Like it's like I smoked like 5 bowls like in a row. Like,
your
That's me.
spasms
I'm
can
just
go
like,
away. It's
I'm like,
it's kind of
what?
funny.
I need 5 cigarettes. Light them afterwards.
Like,
but yeah, so
What was it? There was something. There was something I was gonna say. Gosh darn it. Oh, okay. So with that said, then what's your, with the fact that you could have all these uh effects with orgasm, I guess for male or female, how do you feel about cunnilingus then? Because wouldn't that be
Um,
more of a go-to
my
option, I guess?
experience with oral sex, I don't know. I can only speak as a male. Um, I don't know. It's just like the same. Any kind of stimulation can be too much, or if it's done the right way.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah.
that's a good
but like I said, it's very different. Oral sex can be different, and the sensation can be different. Using a vibrator almost used to like be like every time would trigger orgasm,
Yeah.
or would trigger like AD for me, like when I would orgasm. But that was because I was using a too high amplitude vibrator, and I was able to find one that was like less intense and that would still trigger like the orgasm response, but was not intense enough to trigger the AD. So it's just kind of a matter of fine tuning it for me. There's certain things I can do with my partner that will trigger AD too. That's a matter of communicating it to them. Like, hey, like that's okay until like you got to stop. Like, like
good till it's not.
like, it's too sensitive, and the dysreflexia like is gonna be too much.
Yeah.
And it's like again, like learning with your partner and talking and stuff. Just figuring out like, hey, like that can feel good until it's too much. It doesn't feel good, and which I think is true for anyone with regular sensation too.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
can feel
Yeah.
good until it
Exactly.
doesn't feel good anymore.
Yeah.
We just experience the side effect of the dysreflexia, which can be dangerous. Those blood pressure fluctuations cannot be pretty sometimes, and the headaches and the side effects of that can really take you out of the mood.
yeah.
Um,
Would
yeah,
imagine.
so that's why I speak to just being mindful. Another thing that I would like to talk about, with anybody that asks me about sex is prepare for it. It can be great and spontaneous, but it doesn't always have to be. That can be something you work towards and build towards too. Is kind of the more spontaneous stuff. But take care of yourself. Catheterize beforehand. Structure your care. So that your care is handled and stuff. But also be realistic that we humans are messy and dirty, and we got a lot of bodily fluids, and that's okay. It's not something to be shy about. It's not something to be
Nope.
embarrassed by. Like sex is dirty, and like it that should be okay. It's
Yeah.
not like a
That's supposed to
taboo
be the
or like scary thing, and that's fine. Just prepare for it, make sure that you have stuff to, help stay clean and help, like take care of yourself and, just set up for stuff, put things nearby, prepare yourself beforehand and stuff. And, it can really make the
Yeah, because a
experience a
lot of
lot.
people also have, in wheelchairs also have a lot of UTI problems and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stay clean,
Peter,
kids. Stay
Peter
clean.
just asked little blue pill. It's something that I've never taken myself, or had any experience with, but I've been curious about. So, Sean, I know that you have some knowledge on that. Do you mind dropping it for us?
Yeah, for sure. So they do definitely work. Um, well, I mean, I guess maybe it's different for other people and stuff, but yeah, so they work sometimes a little bit too well. And then the other thing is, for me, they add to the blood pressure effect. Like they lower my blood pressure.
I was
So, and
gonna
I don't
say
know if that's because like
all
the
the blood
blood's not in my head or
stick.
I don't know what's going on, but like I definitely feel way more like I feel quite lightheaded. Like if I'm laying
So,
down, I'm fine, but if I'm up in my chair or sitting like in a couch or something like that, like it can be a little bit of a like a
the
little bit
science
of an effect. So
the science behind that, Viagra or any Cialis, any like erectile dysfunction medication, it's a vasodilator. So what it does is it opens up your blood vessels and it allows blood to flow easier. Now the idea with a male is it allows blood flow to your penis easier, so you're able to maintain an erection longer and like easier for quadriplegics. That's kind of the struggle is we get either like reflex erections from direct stimulation or from an aid or an enhancement, right? But and that the blue pill can help maintain that. That being said, a vasodilator, just like Sean said, changes and affects your whole body. It affects his blood pressure in your whole body. It can affect how you feel. That being said, speak to your doctor about it. My advice in regards to that is start with a very low dose. Take
that's
the
exactly what I
smallest
was gonna say.
possible and then cut it in half. And then try it and see what it does to your body.
Little
You
stitch
can
of
always take
love.
more if it's not enough, but you can never take less. So that's
Exactly.
the name of the game with the little blue pill. Now, I've also read two or three different studies for women with
yo, thank
quadriplegia.
you. I was gonna say, well, bring the ladies
Quadriplegia.
in on this.
They can like experimenting with Viagra and the same principle, vasodilator. It increases blood flow to the lady parts, and that in turn increases nerve function and can help with sensation. That being said, same blood pressure stuff, and things can be different for ladies. So if you do want to try that one, I really would talk to a doctor or a specialist
Really
about it.
would.
But I
Yeah.
have read in two different studies where they've tried it and found success with it. So something to consider along the journey. Other aids for erectile dysfunction, things like that. Penis pump, the cock ring, very like common
Research.
sexual
Yeah.
devices, tools, penis ring. It's just something that, helps maintain an erection, use like a suction device to get an erection and then, the device to help maintain it. Again, read about other guys' experience with it, lots of forums and stuff online. There's safety guidelines with that stuff too. You don't want to use that stuff for too long because it can,
It's
be
never
bad,
never a good idea.
be bad for yeah, with lack of sensation and stuff, you really have to be mindful
Yeah,
because
you
you
have to
get
be careful.
distracted with, like these good sensations on your body and, forget about stuff like that. Um, but there are lots of different tools and lots of different aids for maintaining, erections and things like that that are non-prescription too. If they end up
Yep.
not working out,
Yep.
I would
Absolutely.
say too, like you said, make sure to talk to your doctor if if you're not sure and you have any questions about it. For sure, consult your doctor because
Yep.
and do
Stay,
research too. Just as much as you can.
Yeah, like that was me when I was like 16, 17 years old. I was like in my room on my computer, like on the SCI Rutgers, not Rutgers, not edu. It's a spinal cord injury forum that's um, like held by, supported by Rutgers University, but Dr. Wise Young, who's like a really prominent doctor in the spinal cord injury community. And it's there are a couple nurses and like nurse practitioners that are actively on the board, and they answer medical questions and stuff too. So there are medical professionals that answer stuff on there, which is really cool. So it can be like a little bit more vetted, trusted information, not just from the layman, but from medical professionals with experience with spinal cord injuries and stuff like that. And that was my research, just like New Mobility Magazine, like their forums and stuff, like
I feel
all
like
this.
I got this.
Just Googling, and reading and researching. That's
Yeah.
really, I think, the best bet for most people out there, because we're all individual, we're all different. The stuff for someone with CP and so for someone with MS is gonna be different for someone with spinal cord injury. Even quads and paras. There are all
Yeah.
lots of differences. The thing that you can do best is communicate, talk to other members of the community, if not in person because it's too embarrassing online. Trust me, it's really like the best thing you can do is
Message
talk to
us
people.
all.
Yes. No judgment.
No judgment.
Yeah.
That's
No
a thing.
And if we don't know the answer, we can point you in the right direction.
Yeah. Eva
Absolutely.
Sweeney
Exactly.
again.
Yeah.
Another great one for at least for CP anyway.
The conversation in society needs to change. Sex is a very positive and healthy thing, and it should be educated, as such, and talk to people, in that way, and we shouldn't feel scared to talk about it to to our doctors or to our communicate to our caregivers or whatever it may be. Fortunately, society is not so great, but it's getting better. We got to
It's
just
getting
keep
better.
helping it get
They're
better.
trying. We're trying at least.
Yeah. But it's definitely, as long as you're safe, it can be a very healthy thing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it can also be a good happy thing during these times too.
Yeah, if you have somebody.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
right, right now,
No,
everybody's at home. There's not a lot else to do, so.
Yeah.
come
Like
on.
love yourself, come on. We all deserve attention, so that's good. It's all part of it.
absolutely.
What else are we doing?
And, I mean, that's like such a taboo thing too. I mean, it's hard to talk to someone like, go home and try to masturbate, like when you're feeling it, like, I like
What'd you do
every
during quarantine?
quad out there should go and explore yourself, touch your body, figure out what feels good. Like,
Yeah.
pornography exists. Like, it's okay. It's not like, like it's such a bad taboo thing. But I wish everyone, felt more free, or, like we could have that conversation more, because honestly, that's what the doctors and the nurse practitioners should be saying to the hospitals. Like, go home and explore, go home and, try it out and figure it out, like
You got
things
like a
aren't
new
working.
body.
Come back and talk to us, because it is a new body, and it's something you need to learn again. It's something we all need to learn in the first place, and it's something that you need to learn, once again after you're paralyzed and stuff, because things aren't always going to work the same way.
Of course.
Yeah, and that's the problem too, is a lot of the doctors don't have a whole lot of like actual knowledge on the subject. So, I mean, they have their basic knowledge. They can point you in the right directions. But a lot of it, you're gonna have to do a lot of your own research and stuff, and reach out and talk to people that are experiencing it. That like are in the same boat as you. So that's just
We'd have someone in the chat. Ed, I honestly don't have too much knowledge on spinal cord compression.
Yeah, I know Ed's been.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. I mean, if you want, last week we had Anthony on the stream, who is a para and knows a lot about different injuries and stuff. I can put you in contact with him or something maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that feeling
try
of
to
being
get you in contact.
It's usually like a symptom of like like nerve sensation. If your compression is causing issues with your nerves in that area, then that can definitely be triggering that sensation. I know someone who's experiencing like spine deterioration, like that T, lower like thoracic area, and that's exactly what it is. It's like the sensations of like, yeah, I gotta pee, or like that nerve sensation or something that we're kind of familiar with. And what their doctor said was spinal stimulator is treatment for that. Drugs like prescription drugs like gabapentin or baclofen can help with like the neuropathy and the nerve sensation, and like the nerve response from stuff like that. But again, this is just general information, and you need to talk to a doctor. Take those, take the MRI and the CT that you got, and go talk to like a neurologist, a spine specialist, and have them give
Neurologists are
you
fun.
give you the right knowledge, because it's just very general, and like we don't know the specifics of your case, but definitely probably want to talk to a neurologist if you're experiencing nerve symptoms as a result of the compression, and figure out what they can do.
Right on. Yeah, thanks for
I like
addressing that, Tom.
So,
Um,
dude, did we touch on
yeah,
everything we wanted to today? Were there any topics that we
I
wanted
think
to?
mostly.
I think we
it.
did pretty good.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of the basics, and like we said, shout out Eva and Cripping Up Sex. You guys can check her out. She has a bunch of stuff, especially for the female watchers and followers. It's probably a really good,
And
uh,
LGBT
really,
as well.
LGBT too.
and yes, exactly. And I don't know if we touched on that. We could almost do a whole nother show on just disability and LGBT stuff. Like,
We do need to
I
do a
mean,
show on that. We haven't done that yet. That would be a good
Whole
one.
ass show.
And figure out about the LGBTQ plus community out there, disabled people, because I
We
know
just
there's.
keep adding letters. Pretty soon it'll just be the
Um,
alphabet.
but the thing about the last thing I would like to say. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. Is approach sex and intimacy with an open mind and an open heart. Try not to let yourself get too bogged down or too frustrated. It's a journey like anything else. Like I feel like we often plateau, sometimes along our journeys too, meaning like we'll be working out, but it doesn't feel like we're losing any more weight or we're gaining any more muscle. But it's just because we've kind of plateaued. It might be a while longer until we can, start to climb that mountain again. But that's okay. Sex is fun, and it's not always about orgasm or always about, like making your partner
Have a good
orgasm.
time.
About being together and feeling good together
Yeah.
in
Get
whatever way that
close.
may be.
Come on.
And so approach it in that way, and approach it in a positive and healthy space. Create a good, healthy space to be in, and big part of it is just being good up here. The body stuff will follow. If you can, create a healthy sexual mind space, I found is a very, very big part of it. So I know that was probably a little jumbled and disjointed, but that's kind of the best general information I can. And reach out to your peeps, and we are your peeps in regards to more specific stuff, wherever you get that information, even if it's not us.
And
We'll find
real
it.
quick, Brianna mentioned adding her information in the description, which it is actually. Eva's information is, and obviously all of Alice and Amanda's is as well.
And Peter just touched on that a little topic we were talking about again for Ed. That was the other thing that they talked about too, was the baclofen pump can be really beneficial for areas like that experiencing a lot of that nerve trauma. So thanks, Peter, for coming through in the comments on that. Great information.
So I think we're gonna wrap up our sex talk for the day here, guys. But we're gonna end this stream, and then I'm gonna come back with a live stream like right after. If anybody wants to come, we're gonna do a little after party smoke sesh hangout with Rolling Stone here.
We're gonna talk about
just kind of.
disability.
But we are gonna separate it, so it's gonna be a separate stream. If you guys want to click back on, please do so. Come hang out with us, and you can ask more questions and things. But
join us in
we're
the
just
chat.
And called hands.
Yes. Oh, that can go either way.
Oh, it can.
Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. share the video if you found this informative and think it might benefit anybody else. And thank you everybody for joining us. You
Yeah,
all
thanks
are
everybody for joining the
and
combo.
beautiful. Happy Valentine's Day out
We'll
there.
see you guys in the after
Happy
party.
VD, everyone. Don't get VD.
Oh yeah, happy Valentine's Day in a couple days. VD.
Thanks for joining us,
Okay.
Dave. Bye, everyone.
See you, everybody.
Bye.